Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Keeping Receipts. I'm here with my buddy Chris. How you doing today, Chris?
Good, Doug. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, thanks. Just a quick shout out before we get things started. The Scarborough Shooting Stars are going for a CEBL championship. They're entering the playoffs as the number one seed. So that means home court advantage throughout the course of the playoffs. That'll mean the semis and then the Eastern Conference Finals, if they get there, which they probably should, will be played at the Pan Am Center. And in addition to that, the Borough FC, which is our local soccer club, they just play over at Birchmount Stadium. They are a high seed heading into their playoffs as well. And they play two crucial games this week against Pickering and then against Windsor. But Borough FC, that is professional soccer, folks. So if you want, to go to a game, take the family out, that is fairly inexpensive or even free if you get the tickets online. Check out the Borough FC. And soccer is such a cool thing because you may or may not know that at the grassroots level, every soccer club has the opportunity to move up in the ranks, right? As is shown in that program, Welcome to Wrexham, which is Ryan Reynolds and Rob McLeany. I think they do that show together. And they purchased that team in Wales, that Wrexham FC. And the premise of the show is watching that team essentially move up the ranks with the ultimate goal of entering the Premiership. Now, in North America, that's a lofty goal, if not impossible, to enter the Premiership. But having a goal such as entering the MLS, you never know, right? Scarborough Borough FC could have the MLS as their long-term goal someday. So anyway, shout out to both those teams. And moving into our episode today, the reason why I wanted to get together with Chris is because of the transient nature of these superstar players and how they just up and leave after a tenure, a championship tenure in some cases with some teams, and then kind of go ring chasing, right? So the latest case of that is last night with Tariq Skubal now moving to the Los Angeles Dodgers and joining that super team. You can call the Dodgers a super team at this point as their new ace pitcher. Like they needed another ace pitcher, but they've now got Tariq Skubal. So that the sporting world is going crazy with that news. And you've got loyal baseball fans who are now saying they're going to boycott MLB. They're done watching baseball and so forth. I'm not going to take it to that extent because I kind of see things from a different angle. And I think you do too, Chris, like we talked about in the pre-show. So that's the first point. And then we were going to get it into the idea of legacy, with players. Do players care so much about legacy with one team anymore? I know from a fan's perspective, that's probably still a thing, but is that really a thought that these players come across? Did they think about legacy? Did they think about, the team logo that they might wear with their Hall of Fame plaque and so forth? Are these thoughts that they entertain when they move around like they do in the stages of free agency and so forth? So we'll get into that with the first question. So what do you think, Chris, as a season ticket holder, a longtime season ticket holder of the Toronto Raptors, are you satisfied watching, elite athleticism and basketball at the NBA level? Is that all you're looking for as a season ticket holder, or do you really want to see your team moving towards a championship? Like, are you hell-bent on winning? Like for me, I just like watching the games. I like seeing these guys play. I like watching Major League Baseball, all the major sports. And winning is good. Obviously I'm going to follow my team right to the end, but that's not the be all and end all. I'll still watch the games, even if they're going through a rough spurt. And I like watching, these rosters sort of build and shape over time. So what do you think about that point? Is it all about winning from your perspective?
Well, I take myself back to the playoffs we had last year between the Jays and the Dodgers. And I try and put myself in the shoes of a Dodgers fan. And I wonder if I would have enjoyed that run as much if you were just the prototypical super team like the Dodgers are. it almost feels like a gluttony of wealth, and the vibes maybe don't feel the same. You feel like the evil empire. Whereas being a Jays fan last year was really awesome the way it sort of came organically. That our players all came together. Our payroll was up there, but we weren't really, we weren't really loading the roster like some other teams historically had. It was all based on good vibes and the team playing well. So I'm a little bit different because I'd rather watch a team of underdogs and unknown guys really perform above their expectation and have good vibes and compete as a team and maybe not win in the finals, kind of like the Jays did last year. I think I would prefer that than be.
Which they should have won. I mean, let's be real. They should have won that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the luck was against us, right? But that Dodgers team is historic, and they even got even more historic with the addition of Skubal. But yeah, I'm a little bit different because I don't want to win at all costs. I kind of want to see maximum effort and exceeding expectation. I think as a fan, that's what I really, really love, or watching something develop before your eyes. It's almost heartbreaking to be that team that's expecting to win all the time. And then when they win, you expected it. And if they lose, you're really upset. You're not really as happy when they win. It was expected. And when they lose, you're devastated because you knew it should have been yours, right? So in this particular instance, I am a little bit different in terms of I prefer to see a team grow organically and have those really, really good vibes as opposed to just being really stacked talent-wise. Having said that, though, as a Toronto sports fan, I can't remember a team other than our 92 and 93 Jays that were embarrassingly stacked. So I don't know. Maybe if I did have one of those teams that was just loaded with superstars, maybe it would feel good. But in terms of basketball, to bring it there for a bit, a lot of people are talking about this Kawhi Leonard situation. I'm actually one of the people, I don't think I want Kawhi to return at this point. Aside from the history that we have with Kawhi, I do feel like going for him now is taking a bit of a home run swing and not looking at the negative impact that the vibes might have of bringing someone back who didn't want to be here to begin with. And then now you have the added confusion of the fact that this trade might not go through. So we just got rid of two players that now need to come back, possibly, that know that they weren't wanted. So how to move forward with that, it really sort of adds to killing the vibes, which, again, watching the Jays last year, that was the best part of it, was the good vibes, right? So, and then, just to go back to this Kawhi thing, to see the haul that the Celtics, or to see the trade that Philadelphia was able to make for Jaylen Brown, who's in his prime. Philadelphia probably gave up less to get Jaylen Brown, who's in his prime and was a top MVP candidate last year, top 5. Whereas the Raptors gave up more for a guy that we had already that didn't want to be here, who's 35 years old, that has a long list of injury issues and history. So, yeah, to me, I look at that, I'm a little bit confused. I understand what the Raptors were trying to do and capture lightning in the bottle for a second time like they did in 2019. I just feel like that move goes to exactly what you're saying. You're risking the vibes for a shot at ultimately being competitive, but a little bit too narrow. So, and then, going back to what you were saying about legacy, Kawhi does have a history here and fans do love him. But that would be a little bit of a weird legacy if he came back, especially if he weren't really going to produce and it would cost us this player and future picks. And if Kawhi were to get a big salary and, let's say, have injury issues and not really play, I just see that really being detrimental to the future of the Raptors. So,
and like Brandon Ingram, he played with integrity, throughout his whole tenure here in Toronto, which he's been here for what, 2 years?
No, it was one season that he played.
It was just one season for Ingram, so he'd be heading into year 2.
That's
but
right.
He played hard last year, right? And especially in the playoffs.
Right.
Great player.
He played hard. He played the most games he's played in a lot of seasons. And, it was very where he struggled, it was kind of obvious. So as some Raptors fans, we were kind of wondering, I wonder what Darko Rajakovic and the Raptors training staff could do with a player like this to help him improve. We saw Cleveland top block him in the playoffs, and that really shut him out. But then it became obvious that he just needs to become stronger at sealing. And then sealing towards the basket, cutting for layups, which he wasn't able to do. He was top blocking, but we kind of didn't even give him that opportunity. We traded him for
towards the end of the series. He sort of picked it up, didn't he, in Cleveland? Or
no,
was it more
he got injured. He got injured, so he missed the end of that series. Yeah, and he really struggled with the defense. They weren't even sending him that strong defenders. But to Brandon Ingram's defense, this was the first sort of long run on a competitive team he had. I know he's an older player, but there was an opportunity for him to grow through competitiveness, which a lot of people do, which is. It's kind of part of this. A lot of fans don't have patience to watch this organic growth, and they just want to see their team pick up that next superstar, which, basketball has a long, long history of this. Baseball is a little bit different because you can take a chance on loading up on the superstars, and it happens very often that those teams still don't win. In basketball is a little bit different.
Yeah, not in the case of the Dodgers, but you're right. It's happened. Yeah.
I don't want to make predictions, Doug, but I just don't feel the Dodgers are going to win this year. I feel like they needed luck last year too, and they had a lot in terms of health and in terms of timing on great plays. But
it's possible. They don't have the best pitcher. They don't have the best pitcher. Jacob Mizorowski of Milwaukee Brewers is far and away the best pitcher in MLB right now. I mean, he throws upwards of 103, 104 miles an hour with ease. He's the hardest thrower MLB has ever seen. Right. Well, and he's a shutdown pitcher. So if he gets 2 starts in a short series against the Dodgers, it is possible.
Aside from that, I've seen some Atlanta games. You had put me onto them early in the season, and they're a very legit team.
They are, and I think Atlanta has Kevin Gausman in their crosshairs. I predict that he'll go there. I mean, I could be wrong, of course, but I think they still need some help with their starting rotation. They've got Chris Sale, who's awesome, but they need kind of a number 3 guy for, if they're looking ahead to a 7-game series in the playoffs. And Gausman is a proven playoff performer, right? He's gonna rise to the occasion. So there's going to be some good suitors for him, and I think Atlanta is probably tops of that list. But
in terms of ring chasers, though, as you were saying in the MLB, can you think of an example of a player in the MLB who is an obvious ring chaser?
Well, I mean, you can make a case that Skubal is sort of having that mindset right now at this point. Kyle Tucker in free agency, he went for the Dodgers, even though, apparently he had a tour of the Blue Jays spring training facility and kind of flirted with the idea of signing here. But everyone seems to be moving towards the Dodgers. I guess the Yankees would be like a tier 2 of that idea. But I think ultimately every free agent has the Dodgers at the top of their list. So I think in this day and age, ring chasing is a real thing. And the only team that really fits that ring chasing description at this point in time are the Dodgers. Now they can only field so many guys. But yeah, I mean, Skubal, definitely, I'd say he's chasing a ring. That's why he's going there. He probably advised his agent that's if I'm going to be traded, that's the team I'm going to. Otherwise, I'm staying here. I'm going to ride my contract out with Detroit. The Yankees might have been in the conversation, but I think all along it was the Dodgers. And he's from California, played college ball in California, as so many of these guys are and have. And that's where he ended up. So I think anyone really who signs with the Dodgers, that's their thought. That's their thought, is that they're chasing a ring. And any other team, whether it's Philly, whether it's the Yankees, the argument of chasing a ring, I guess you can sort of make that point, but obviously it's not as strong a point as if they were to sign with the Dodgers. But again, they can only field so many guys, right? And they can't bring in any more people. Like there's gridlock in their minor league system. That's why their system is so strong, is because they can't bring these guys up. who are they going to replace? Their outfield, they've got Andy Pajes, Kyle Tucker, who's underperforming, and Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield. So who are you going to pull from that outfield to
Right.
bring up a guy like Josue De Palma, he was the number one prospect who everyone was going after in a trade proposal, and the Dodgers were able to keep him. And he's major league ready. He'd probably be an all-star. He's 19 years old, or maybe he's 20.
Wow.
He would be an all-star with any other team, but there's such gridlock in the Dodgers system that they got to keep him down in AAA. Now he'll probably start for them next year, but it's really remarkable that they're able to retain these top prospects and still go out and trade for Tariq Skubal.
Now you were sort of mentioning when you and I were discussing before the show that you feel like Detroit got a really good haul from the Dodgers. So
yeah, they did. I mean, they got Zaire Hope, who's probably their second or third prospect. Now, the Dodgers, according to The Athletic, they have, I think, the number 2 system in all of MLB. So imagine that. Like, they're the best team far and away.
Before or after the trade?
What's that?
Was this before or after the trade that they had this ranking of the best system? With
before the trade. But even after the trade, I mean, they might have dropped a couple of slots. But again, they were able to keep Josue De Paula, and he's the guy who everyone wanted to trade for. There, even the experts were like, De Paula's going to go if Skubal becomes a Dodger. Well, he didn't go. They were able to keep him. But they did trade Zaire Hope, who is another player who's major league ready. In Double-A, he's got 23 home runs, wow, 87 RBI at this point of the year. So any other team, if a guy had those kinds of numbers, even if he was just 20, 21, they would bring him up. No question about it. But the Dodgers, they weren't able to do that at this time. So Zaire Hope becomes a trade piece. So he's probably going to step in to the Detroit Tigers 40-man roster, I would think, right away. And Detroit also got River Ryan, who is an effective starting pitcher. But again, there's too many guys for the Dodgers, right? They just can't fit him into the rotation. But he'll move right into the Detroit Tigers starting rotation immediately. So they get a top prospect who's major league ready, and a number 2 or number 3 starting pitcher, 27 years old, River Ryan, who will step right into the rotation. And then they got a third guy, Brady Smith, who is also major league ready, and they could put him into middle relief. He throws upwards of 100 miles an hour as well. So 2 power arms plus a top prospect who's major league ready and 21 years old.
Seems like a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no problem. Detroit's going to make a strong bid for Tariq Skubal at the end of the season and into free agency. As soon as this season is over, they're going to come calling, and Tariq Skubal will be very interested in a proposal from Detroit, especially, I think, if the Dodgers win the World Series, because Skubal will have won his championship ring, his World Series ring with the Dodgers. And then I know he's going to want to complete his legacy with the Tigers. So the Tigers will have had this haul from this trade and potentially can get Skubal back. And when they've got, pitchers like Jackson Jobe returning after recovering from Tommy John, he's a top prospect. They just brought up Max Clark. He's raking. Kevin McGonigal is going to win Rookie of the Year. They've got an exciting foundation in Detroit, even though they've underperformed a little bit. Not a little bit. They've underperformed quite a bit, but they've been injury plagued. So they've had a tough year. But AJ Hinch is at the helm, and man, the future is bright in Detroit next year and beyond. Especially man, oh man, if they could bring back Skubal. Wow.
Okay, so I've got a couple questions for you. Isn't that a big haul for the Dodgers to give up just for a couple of months of Skubal's service?
Yeah, it definitely is. And nobody's talking about that. They're only talking about how, the baseball world is being shaken to its core, and there needs to be a salary cap introduced in MLB. They're going to talk about that this offseason.
But the Dodgers
Um,
won't mind giving up too much, especially if it gives them a ring. I'm guessing that's kind of the
well,
more of those you can get, it's worth it for them.
yeah,
Uh,
they're only looking for the three-peat. This three-peat mindset is so deeply ingrained in Andrew Friedman and that front office in LA. They are hell bent on that three-peat, and they'll do anything. They're not done in terms of the trade deadline. They will go after some other pieces, probably to beef up that bullpen even more. Yeah, they're not finished.
well, for
It is a lot. It is a lot to answer your initial question to give up, but I mean, come on, man, Tariq Skubal. So Detroit wasn't going to settle for anything less than a huge haul, and I would say they're probably pretty satisfied and licking their chops at what they're able to get for him.
right, and I'm just trying to think from my memory. I don't think in my lifetime there's been a three-peat baseball winner, right? We've had back-to-back winners, the Jays being one of them. I think Yankees did it a couple times. Obviously, Dodgers last 2 years, but
The,
I
the
don't. I
Yankees
don't.
were the Yankees were a three-peat in 98, 99, and 2000.
Ah, that's right.
Um,
Enter Sandman with Jeter and Rivera. That's right.
exactly. That's when
Yeah.
Rivera came into his really
Mhm.
strong years. And yeah, Jeter would have been entering his prime as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that Yankees team was a powerhouse. They were in the World Series, I think 6 out of the 7 consecutive years, and they
Right on.
won. They three-peated in 98, 99, and 2000, and then they won again in 2009, and they
Right on.
haven't won since. They were in the World Series in 2024, but they lost that one.
Well, my next question is then, how do you feel as a Detroit Tigers fan if Skubal comes back next year and completes his career as a Tiger and spent 2 months in LA where he wins his only ring? Kind of goes back to your ring chasing. Wouldn't that be one of the most odd career arcs that we've ever seen if that were to be the case?
Yeah, I think it's a career arc that speaks to the modern era, and I think the informed Detroit Tiger fan would be pretty excited about that concept or about that idea because it's a really clever shift, right? They're able to get these 3 players who are all going to have an impact. They're all going to wear a Detroit Tigers uniform at the major league level. River Ryan might be the number 2 starter, and if Skubal were to come back, he'd be the number 2 starter right behind Skubal.
Yeah.
Um, I would think that they got the better of the trade. They'd
Hmm.
think that they got the better of the trade, and ultimately be pretty satisfied with that. It's like they're able to make some clever moves, build that strong foundation, and if they're able to sign Skubal long term, that could be a dynasty in Detroit. So
Right.
how could any fan be anything but over the moon excited about that idea? But you're right, in terms of career arc, it's pretty strange. It's strange indeed. But if anyone were to do it, or if any arc were to be had, this is the one that I could envision happening.
Yeah. For me, it kind of reminds me as a Jays fan of watching Roy Halladay throw a no-hitter in the World Series for the Phillies.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was in the NLDS that he did that.
oh,
He threw,
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
But I
he
just,
didn't make it in the World Series, but he did it in the playoffs. Yeah,
remembering Roy Halladay have that run with the Phillies, where if I'm not mistaken, they did win that year, right? Roy Halladay with the Phillies, I think he did win a championship.
they didn't win the World Series. No,
Oh, they didn't. Okay, my memory.
no,
Yeah. But
they didn't even make it. They didn't even make it to the World Series. I think they were beaten out by St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, maybe
Uh,
that was
but
watching Chris Carpenter beat Roy Halladay. Maybe that was I
that's right.
I somehow have nightmares of that, thinking, man, these could have been our number 1 and 2 pitchers, and now they're pitching in the National League.
Yeah, can you imagine that? And Carpenter was such an anomaly because everyone said, of the massive potential that I remember Buck Martinez raving about the potential that he saw in Chris Carpenter, but it never came to fruition as a J. And then when he went to the Cardinals, he was amazing, incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, won a Cy Young, won the World Series MVP, and almost single-handedly carried them through the playoffs that year.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's kind of from my memory, I think it happens more in baseball that you have a good player that just is on a bad team, and
Yeah,
then you kind of let them loose, and then you see them really shine with someone else. You feel good for that player, but as a fan of that team, it's sort of
Yeah, and St. Louis, I think has done that a couple of times. They've carried the hot hand of an ace pitcher. They did it with Michael Wacha, and they
Mhm.
did it earlier with Chris Carpenter. So, yeah, man, like you were saying earlier, if a team has the hot ace pitcher heading into the playoffs, that would be the only way that the Dodgers could be derailed in the playoffs. Would be if they ran into a guy like Christopher Sanchez or Jacob Mizorowski, who at times are absolutely unhittable, right? And if those guys are pitching lights out and the Dodgers have to face them twice in, a 5-game series, they could be in trouble. They could be in trouble. But on the on the flip side, Skubal's going to rise to the occasion in the playoffs. There is no question about that. So whoever he's pitching against will have to do whatever they can with a 1-run. They might get 1 run off Skubal, 2 runs tops. So they better have great pitching because there's no
Right.
chance that Skubal is going to get lit up. There's no way that happens.
Right. And
So
then if you do get to Skubal and manage to win a game, then you've got all those pitchers behind him. So,
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
It's not
what a
like getting to the Dodgers bullpen is going to be a luxury in any sense.
no. Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess when we're speaking about ring chasing, I guess we got to mention LeBron James too, because that's a lot of people have been asking me about that one.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
how do you feel about that one?
Well, when you have Joel Embiid and Jaylen Brown and LeBron together, the three of them, it's hard to imagine that any team in the East is going to be, is going to be able to take on that team and beat them in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Uh, but LeBron, what is he? He's 41?
Yes.
41? Yeah. I mean, he's still probably an A player, maybe B plus player in terms of the echelon of superstars.
Yeah.
Philly's going to be good, but I mean, let's be clear. Like the freight train teams and the unbeatable teams are all coming out of the West still, right? So, um,
Yeah. Well, don't
they,
forget the Knicks won the chip last year, right? So
I know, but
yeah,
yeah, of course. But do you think the Knicks could repeat?
I
Do they have
absolutely
the?
do. Yeah,
You do, eh?
I think Mitchell Robinson was a big loss, but winning a championship goes a long way for the confidence, and basketball is one of the biggest confidence sports, right? So
Mhm.
when you feel like the champion, you're a lot harder to beat. And I think the Knicks earned it last year. I think the Knicks figured a formula out. And I also think they kind of didn't flinch. They were in some bad spots throughout that playoff run.
Mhm.
But they had the confidence that they'd be able to kind of figure it out in the long run, and they definitely did. Again, I think losing Mitchell Robinson is a big loss. But just going back to LeBron for a sec, I think about the young kids that are fans of LeBron, and it kind of goes to what we were saying. A lot of LeBron fans are not Cleveland Cavalier fans or Lakers
Yeah.
fans or Miami Heat fans. They were LeBron fans, so they followed him wherever he'll go, and I think that'll continue. I also sort of
So would you?
envision a world where Philly ends up winning this year, and
Yeah.
then the younger generation doesn't care. They just remember 41-year-old LeBron in a Philly jersey, right? Kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of Moses Malone in '83 when he joined the Sixers and they won that faux 5-0 championship with Dr. J.
Yeah.
Moses Malone was like a perennial MVP candidate, and he was a hell of a player. But he only got that first chip in Philadelphia, and obviously I was born the year before, so it's not like I was watching a lot of basketball back then.
But
But
you're a historian. You're a historian.
yeah, well, that's what everyone remembers Moses. That's the team everyone remembers Moses Malone on. Everyone remembers him as a Sixer, even though he got there kind of at the end of his career,
Yeah.
because obviously that's where he won a chip. So I could see history remembering this fondly and no one caring that LeBron is on another team. But to be honest, when the move happened, I generally am not that scared of Philadelphia. Their backcourt and their depth scares the crap out of me. Like seeing those three guards, Edgecombe, Maxey, and now Jaylen Brown, and then behind them you have Kentavious Caldwell Pope. You have Anthony Simons, who
Mhm.
could start on most teams. So their guard depth is incredible. But one thing I've realized in the last couple of years watching NBA is you're only as strong as your weakest link in for an NBA team. And I do see a big hole in the front court for the 76ers. I
Yeah.
mean, Embiid is not a mobile rim protector anymore. He doesn't even bang in the post in terms of
Anymore. So he's on the decline, you think, in terms of his career?
absolutely. If you see, he's still a great shooter, which is why he can still get you 27 a night. But his rebounding numbers have definitely dropped. His block per games have definitely dropped. His switchability is no longer there. You really have to keep him hidden in the paint, and you need to protect him. Um, so I
Well, that in and of itself is going to be a massive factor because, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns in at the rim against Embiid, you got to give the edge to the Knicks every time in a matchup like that, right?
Right. And the Knicks aren't even the most forward heavy team. Like they do, like I said, Mitchell Robinson was a big loss for them, but they could sort of handle their own,
Yeah,
which is why I think they ended up beating San Antonio. But if you look, if I see Philadelphia playing San Antonio, I've got a real fear that Philadelphia cannot handle Wemby with the
yeah. Well, who can really?
42-year-old LeBron. Yeah, 42-year-old LeBron and Embiid, who's got really bad knees.
But don't you think, like in the West, like just my point earlier, I don't know if it was a good point, it might not have been, but I still feel like there's 5 teams in the West who are championship caliber teams, whereas in the East, you might have 2. The Knicks, of course, and then now Philly.
Mhm.
And I suppose you can put Boston into that conversation, but
Yeah, I think
even they're
Boston. I think
yeah.
Boston took a big step back. I think they made a calculation by getting rid of Brown that their team long term would be better, but I think they know that their ceiling has definitely dropped by
Mhm.
getting rid of Brown. I don't see them as being quite title contenders. But when I look at the West, Doug, to be honest with you, I don't see Denver as a title contender anymore. I think they dropped off. I don't think Houston is a legit contender. I don't
Mm.
believe in the Lakers. Um, yeah, I believe that if you're starting Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic, and those are 2 of your best players, you don't have a chance to win a championship. That's just too many holes in the defense for me.
Wow.
So to be honest, in the West, I only see the Timberwolves and the Thunder and San Antonio as being real title contenders at this point.
Mhm.
And I'm very curious as to what the Wolves were doing because picking up LaMelo was great, but getting rid of Naz Reid and Julius Randle now, their forward depth is really tanked.
Yeah.
They're relying on Rudy Gobert almost exclusively. So I do really believe in Anthony Edwards, and I believe in Minnesota's sort of guard depth. They've done some nice things there with the addition of LaMelo, but yeah, I think those 3 are sort of the best teams along with Philadelphia and the Knicks. That's who I'm going with as the top 5 in the league right now.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, I might have to put the Knicks still in the top seed because what they showed us last playoffs was legit. I think their fan base really helps. And as someone who kind of believes in the conspiracy dust a little bit, I know that the Knicks making it far into the playoffs is good for the league. So that's why I think that trend will probably continue.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Knicks Philly final, and then I think OKC and San Antonio are gonna be the 2 contenders in the West again. So
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll have to go in deeply with that conversation as we head
yeah,
into the season.
yeah.
NBA teams, I guess they have their summer training camps, right? So they're probably entering the training camp phase at this point.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get into preseason in September.
Yeah.
September, October, and then season starts usually around Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be a good one. Right about the same time where we're going to be wondering what's happening in the MLB. Our Jays
That's right.
probably won't be there though, unfortunately.
No, I don't think they're going to be there. But I wanted to raise one point, something that I think is great that's going on in MLB is just signing the superstars early. So the draft picks as they're coming up, like these kids are so strong. Kevin McGonigal, Bobby Witt Jr., Connor Griffin, right? So teams are locking these guys up in terms of contract for like 10, 12, 15 years, right? And that's pulling the salary cap down and it's pulling the AAV of superstar players down. for a longer period of time. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. is undervalued. He's one of the best players in the league in all of MLB, and he makes far less than some of these free agents make, right? And that's because these teams were smart offering their draft picks when they were on the cusp of making it, or after they make their debut and they see that they are the real deal. They're signing them for a decade for what would conceivably be undervalue if they meet their projections, which they are. These players are meeting their projections and beyond. So that's a good trend. They bring up these players, they end up being great players, and they might cap out at like 15-17 million dollars a year and avoid free agency, right?
And
Until
who was
they're like 30 years old. Like Bobby
who was
Witt
the
Jr.
first to
signed with
do that? It was Acuna, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think the Braves with Acuna, that was sort of
Acuna was one of the first. Yeah, the Braves
yeah.
were one of the first teams to do that, sign for an extended period for what is conceivably undervalued, because Acuna, now he's been injury plagued. Unfortunately, he's just had a streak of bad luck, but he is, when he's playing, clearly one of the best players in the game, right? Bobby Witt Jr., clearly one of the best players in the game, an impact player, plays 162 games every year. And his salary is going to cap out at about 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 5 million less than what George Springer is making per year.
Well, the
And
Jays sort of did that with Vladdy, did they not?
well, no, not really, because Vladdy's his AAV is going to be around 35 million a year until he's 40, 41 years old.
Oh, okay.
So no, I would argue that the Jays did that in terms of the length, but not in terms of the money. So, I mean, they're paying him copious amounts of money. He's getting like almost, Juan Soto kind of money in terms of annual average value.
So who is the richest player in baseball in terms of the annual contract?
Juan Soto.
Yes. And what's his annual average?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but I'm sure it's between 35 and 40 million a year.
That's actually, compared to basketball, that's much less. I thought that baseball players historically made the most. Right?
No, historically they've made a little bit less. NBA's always been the most, and the reason for that, I think, is just because their roster is far less people, right?
Right. And
MLB roster,
the amount of games. Yeah.
MLB roster carries 40 guys, and NBA, I'm not sure how many they carry. Do you know?
How much? What's the roster for an NBA team? Yeah, it's 15. Okay. And I think one of those has to be a two-way contract. I think like at the end of your bench, you have a couple two-ways. I'm not sure, but yeah, I know it's 15 is the number. But yeah, generally you have about 12, 10 to 12 NBA salaries, and the rest are two-ways and G League salaries to sort of, but the costs are getting astronomical with baseball teams too, right? So
they are, but I mean, that's a really, smart business model, I think, especially now that these draft picks are coming out of college, and the college baseball system in D1 is more elite now than it's ever been, right? And MLB is trying to roll out a new rule where they can't draft players straight out of high school. They have to put in at least, right now, I don't know if they'll implement, it's got to be a minimum of 1 year in college, because right now, if they enter college, they have to play college ball for 3 years before they can be drafted. I think if they're going to enforce this, it's going to be a minimum of 1 year that the players have to put in college, which is fine, because I think an elite high school player, if he puts in 1 year of college ball, he's going to be that much better and that much more prepared for professional baseball. Because a lot of these guys, when they come out of high school, even if they're first round picks, when they get into the system of minor league baseball, it's a grind, man. And some of them just can't cut it, right? So having that experience of college ball, I think, is vital. And I hope that gets passed by the Players Association, because it's on the table. It's on the table this coming off season.
Yeah,
and
I think baseball still has a difference from hockey and basketball, where it seems like in hockey and basketball, championships teams need to have one or two really, really good young players on their entry-level contract for the salary cap reason. The caps, I think, are tighter in basketball and hockey. Whereas baseball, you don't see these teams needing the young players on young contracts to really help them, sort of get over that hump. But Major League Baseball, yeah, very much. Very much. You don't see these kids until they're fully MLB ready.
Well, the ideal situation would have been for Vladdy and Bo Bichette to have been signed long term halfway through their rookie seasons. Like they should have been offered a 10-year, 12-year contract.
Yeah, you still feel that way about Bo? Bo's struggling in New York this year. You still?
Oh yeah, he's struggling, but I mean, he would have been signed during his productive years in Toronto for less than what they paid him.
Right.
They could have flashed 10, 12 million a year, offered that over a 10-year period. So 10 years, 120 million halfway into his rookie season. Most rookies are going to take that. Most rookies are definitely going to take that.
He probably would.
And the club ends up on top if the player pans out, which in Vladdy's case and Bo's case, I mean, yes, they've had some tough times, especially this season, but overall, you can't argue that they've been really solid, right?
Yeah, and with their contracts, you do hear some Jays fans even complaining about what Vladdy's making this year because obviously he's struggling.
No, he's had a terrible season. And the reason for it, as I see it, is just he's pressing so hard because he wants to make that money. He wants to earn that money, rather.
Right.
He wants to show fans in the baseball world, hey, I'm worth that AAV. I'm worth that Juan Soto money. And you can see it at the plate. He's just pressing. He's not – it's like he's making a different adjustment almost every game when he hits that I see. I don't see him finding that comfort zone with his at-bats the way he had it in the playoffs last year. I mean, that was the best version of Vlad that we've seen since 2021.
You don't think it had anything to do with Alejandro Kirk turning down the home run jacket?
I don't know. I mean, all these things sort of enter the thought process and enter the discourse. I think Vladdy's like a deep thinker. That's what I see with Vlad, and that which I can certainly relate to, right? Yeah. It's like a golfer when you get out on the golf course and you hit a bad shot, and then you try and get the bad shot out of your mind, but you can't. Yeah. And it just snowballs, And this year it's just been one big snowball for him. He just can't seem to.
I've always seen Vladdy as a little bit of an unserious character. Like he's very jovial. He likes to play and joke, and he doesn't really behave well. He's like out of his element when things are serious. Which is why I think that Jays team last year worked for him, because it was just good vibes and everyone's kind of, playing loose. And I see him striving in those environments. But when people have expectation and people are getting upset, I really see like two different versions of Vladdy Guerrero, and he's really fun to watch when people are feeling good. And when the mood is not good, he's not that fun to watch, I gotta be honest. So
I know, but I do see him snapping out of this at some point.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Even the very best players in baseball history have had down years. And this might be the worst year of his entire career, but he'll play 15, 20 years in MLB and he will snap out of this. Do I think he's going to have his 2021 numbers again? Upwards of 45 home runs, 100 RBI. I think he will. I mean, it's hard to imagine that he won't. There's just too much talent there. But he's not the only one who's had a down year this year. I mean, Kyle Tucker was the top name.
Right. We're lucky we didn't sign him, right?
Yeah, and he's had numbers similar to Vladdy. His OPS is somewhere around the 700 range, right? So he's just hasn't been hitting. They keep putting him out there every game, but he's not hitting.
It's funny you were saying about legacy players. Thinking about Vladimir Guerrero and the situation you were saying with Skubal, I think as a Jays fan, again, I'm a little bit of a different case, but I think I'd almost rather have Vladdy in a Blue Jays uniform for the rest of his career and not trade him for this young haul that makes us better. It's something about his history already with the team. I do want to see him in a Jays uniform. I think if you were to go somewhere else and have success as happy as I'd be for him, it would feel really hard to see Vladdy in a different uniform. I kind of felt that way about Delgado. Unfortunately, Delgado never played on any good teams here, any really competitive teams here. But just seeing Delgado in a different jersey just felt weird. You know, Sean Green was one thing; he could have gone. But when we lost Delgado, yeah, I kind of would have rather had Delgado for 20 years, even if he never won anything, which he didn't end up winning anything anyway. So.
Yeah, Delgado, who should be in the Hall of Fame, clearly.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
whatever reason, is not in the Hall of Fame.
yeah. Well, maybe because all the teams he played on were horrible. That's one thing too, right?
Yeah, he never won anything. Yeah, that's for sure.
No,
He was with the
no.
Mets for a tenure, and then was with the Marlins. I think he played a few playoff games with the Mets, but
Yeah,
never
I thought
won.
the Marlins maybe. I seem to remember him in the playoffs a couple times. I thought it was with the Marlins, maybe with the Mets, but
Yeah,
never with the Jays. That's for sure. I remember when he was on our team, we were never really that good outside of him, right?
right. And that was during the steroid era, right? Where, players were putting up copious numbers of home runs,
Mhm.
but Delgado was slightly under the radar, hitting his 40 home runs per year. But then
Yeah,
when you had like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire out there hitting like 60 plus
yeah,
every year,
60
you
some odd.
didn't hear much about Delgado, but any other era, he would have been like the frontline superstar.
Oh yeah. Well, at least
Um,
he did it with integrity, right? So that's why we love Delgado in these parts, and I think
that's
we're all gonna go down loving Vladdy too. But I just his highs and his lows. There's a little bit of a little bit more of a difference I feel between Guerrero's highs and lows than someone like Delgado.
Well, I think he's with the right organization to have the highs and lows, right? We're
Yeah.
we're, we're a pretty diplomatic bunch,
Hmm.
the Toronto Blue Jays fans, and we're not going to be too down on him. We love Vladdy. We love what he did last year in the playoffs. I mean, that effort was just timeless. Like that's going to stand in the vaults of Blue Jays history forever because it was just an incredible performance, right? So there's not a lot that Vladdy can do wrong,
Hmm.
even though his year has been horrendous this year. He still has the full support of Blue Jays fans.
Hmm.
And yeah, I can't see him being traded at all, like throughout the tenure of his contract.
Hmm.
Maybe when he's about 38, 39 years old. 35 million per year will be seen as undervaluing Vladdy.
Hmm.
I don't think that'll happen, but I suppose it's possible. But yeah, no, he will not be traded or moved anytime soon. The contract, the tenure of it is what, 15 years, right?
Hmm.
So they're not going to move Vladdy. There have been musings of that in and around the trade deadline. I guess there's always going to be those types of conversations and rumors, but no, he's not going anywhere. And I agree with you, Chris. As fans, we got to stick with the superstars or these guys that we love through the highs and lows, right? Just like you watch the ebb and flow of the team, there's going to be ebbs and flows with these superstar
Right.
players. They're not going to be posting those incredible numbers year after year after year. That'd be nice, but there are going to be times where they're just not going to do that, right? They're human. These are
Let's
human beings.
Let's hope we don't have another Roberto Alomar. Because as a young Jays fan, I remember how we chased him out of town, and I thought, isn't he the greatest player that's ever put on a uniform for this team? And now we're chasing him out of town. I was
Yeah,
pretty,
I
I was
know that
disappointed
that's
with
true, but I mean, we ultimately learned that there were some issues behind the scenes there as well, right? I don't know
Yeah, yeah. I still
how
would have
far.
rather have kept Robbie Alomar. Like, he was he's our only first ticket Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Well, Paul Molitor would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer if you count
Yeah,
guys who played for the Jays.
yeah, yeah.
Dave Winfield, first ballot Hall of Famer.
I see, I see.
But yeah, I mean, Alomar, I guess, would have had the longest tenure for a first ballot.
Right.
I believe Roy Halladay was first ballot as well.
Perhaps. Yeah, I just don't ever remember a Jays player like Alomar being the undisputed best player in baseball at that position. I feel like that was the only Jay I can remember that there was nobody even close at second base when Robbie Alomar was the guy.
I feel he's the best second baseman in the history of the game. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
Incredible ball player.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I know it would have been nice for him to retire as a Blue Jay as well. But remember, he came up as a San Diego Padre.
Yeah,
had
yeah,
some great years, and they traded Tony Fernandez to
yeah.
get
Who's
and
another
Fred
thing?
McGriff
Yeah,
and Fred McGriff to get Carter and Alomar. And then Fernandez ended up coming back to the
coming back.
Jays.
Yeah, yeah,
McGriff ended up moving on to the Braves, won a World Series, and became a Hall of Famer.
yeah,
So in all four cases, those players were great players, had awesome careers. And it's weird how things work out because Fernandez ended up coming back to the Jays,
yeah,
right? And winning a World Series with them.
yeah, yeah. And being him and Alomar shortstop second, that was an unbelievable
Incredible.
infield, right?
Incredible. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely elite. But
yeah.
yeah, okay. So just, I guess on legacy, maybe a bit of trivia to wrap things up. This is an easy one, but
Let's
who's the
see.
player with the most championship rings with one team in NBA history?
Oh yeah, that one's easy. He's also the guy with the most rings, and in my opinion, the best player ever. But I'm alone on this one. It's Bill Russell.
Correct.
Yeah.
Job, Chris. It's a tie though in terms of all professional sports if we're counting the big four: NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB.
Bill Russell is tied with someone else. Hey.
The pocket rocket, Henri Richard.
There we go. There we go. I should have known it was a Montreal Canadian because they're the only team that has lapped everyone else in terms of championships.
Right, especially in the 1970s where they
Yeah,
just kind of took over the whole decade.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then they weren't as good in the 80s. However, they still won one in 86 and then again in 93.
Yeah,
and I think the Habs are on their way to winning another one soon.
Mhm.
But Henri Richard won 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
But did he do it as a player coach like Bill Russell did? Right?
Huh? What?
So, yeah.
Did he do it as a player?
Bill Russell did it. 2 of his 11, he was the player coach as well. So he was coaching the team. So
yeah, I don't think Henri Richard probably was an unofficial assistant coach to Scotty Bowman, but you're right.
Yeah.
No, he was not a coach.
Yeah. Toe Blake, wasn't Toe Blake Maurice Richard's coach, if I'm not mistaken?
Toe Blake was Maurice Richard's coach, but that's the Rocket. That's his brother.
Oh,
we're talking the pocket rocket, Henri, not Maurice.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that's something he's got on his brother then, eh?
That's right. He's got that on his big brother. Big brother's probably one of the best to ever play the game, but pocket rocket has the claim to the most rings.
Yeah.
And baseball. It ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
10 rings.
Who? 10 rings with
it ain't
one
over
team?
till it's over.
No, you know what? I'm not that much. Who is it? I'm not that good with baseball.
It's Yogi Berra.
Oh, okay.
The Yankees.
Yeah.
10 rings.
Yeah.
And then the NFL, he had 6 rings with the New England Patriots and 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who would that be?
Yeah, so that's Brady. Yeah.
That's Mr. Brady, Tom Brady.
Yes. Yeah, all of the legends, of course. Yeah, you know what? I put Bill Russell above all those guys. I think, especially considering the racial stuff that was going back then. I kind of don't think it's close. I tell all the young kids that Bill Russell is the greatest basketball player ever because for you to win an MVP against the guy who averaged 50 points a game and you average 18 and you are the unanimous MVP that season, it just tells us that there was something happening defensively that we didn't get to watch because it wasn't on TV, it wasn't broadcast, and that we've literally never seen again in any other sport. And if sports are about winning, then yeah, I don't see how you don't say Bill Russell is the greatest, especially in basketball. But
yeah, when you factor in integrity, leadership, overcoming adversity, and flat out skill, he was a great player, right?
Right.
And I agree with you. Absolutely top of the list, no question.
Yeah.
And then I want to maybe just with LeBron, right, and him chasing rings. Now, if you think of LeBron and you envision LeBron and his legacy after he retires, what jersey do you picture or imagine LeBron wearing, just in your mind's eye?
For me, he's got to have that Cleveland jersey just because he brought them the first title and he's from there. He was drafted by them. So I think he did a good thing by going back to Cleveland because I think that did sort of make his career it made it a little bit more authentic, a little less cheap that he did win one in Cleveland. But if it weren't for that, I don't know which team would embrace him the most. And then I'm thinking of a guy like Kevin Durant, who won 2 in Golden
Golden
State.
State.
But when Kevin Durant goes to the Hall of Fame, what jersey's going to wear? I think
I
he
know.
should wear. I think he should wear a Durant jersey, like a
Exactly.
KD, like Nike, KD shoe jersey, because he's just a hired gun, and nobody really loves him. And I don't know if I was a player, if I'd want that career.
Yeah, well, he was awesome to watch in OKC, right? And so
Yeah,
I think of the times when I really cheered for him and rooted for him, and
yeah.
when he was in OKC, I definitely did. So
Yeah, but the OKC fans are so glad that Shea won those 2 MVPs in the title, because they would so much rather hang their hat on Shea than on Kevin Durant. Uh,
yeah,
and that's obvious now. And so,
even though
you
he
know,
didn't come up through their system, right?
that's right. That's right. But he, the blood, sweat, and the tears, Shea went through that with the OKC fans,
For
where
sure.
uh, Kevin Durant leaving OKC to go to Golden State when OKC was up 3-1 in that conference final.
Hmm.
I don't know. I wouldn't, if I was him, I wouldn't want that on my legacy, but people make their own choices.
They
Without
did.
going to Golden State, maybe Durant doesn't have any rings right now. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation for another time, and I'd
Yeah.
like to get into that for sure. The
Yeah.
whole KD saga is a show unto itself, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that is another story. And now that Houston's not looking that good, I wonder where it goes from here. But we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Chris.
Right
Well,
on.
actually,
Yeah, thank
I
you.
wanted to mention the slam one more time.
Yes.
The link is in my bio. I can post that in the comments as well. Thank you to the subscribers who have
Mhm.
started to roll in. Especially, I wanted to shout out Painting Corners, who have supported Keeping Receipts. We'll support you guys as well, and hopefully collaborate on a show at some point in the future. So for
Right on.
Chris, this is Doug signing off with Keeping Receipts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.